Hi, everybody. Steve Scott here with another edition of our Kaizen online program. And I hope you just watched my other video on grip fighting, okay, on the concepts of grip fighting. And in that, it took about 32 minutes, and I yacked along too much, as I always do. But in any event, I covered a lot of basics, fundamentals that are highly important to lead into the discussion I'm going to have here on gripping. So this is volume two or part two of grip fighting. Okay, and again, I would highly recommend that you get on my YouTube channel. Welcome at Steve Scott, and look at the video I have there on gripping, or several videos I have on gripping, I guess, and you can kind of see what we're talking about as well. Okay, so in the previous video, we talked about the concepts of long and short grips, the tactical, technical importance of gripping, a little bit of the history of grip, what gripping is. So if you haven't seen that one yet, you should. So go to Grip Fighting Volume One. I don't know what I'll name it, but anyway, this one. Okay, this one here. We're going to talk about some specific goals, rules, things you want to do in every match, whether it be a judo match, a sambo match, or whatever it is. Again, I'm going to be talking mostly about grappling with a jacket or a belt. Okay, but these rules can also apply to MMA or no gi, submission grappling, catch wrestling, whatever your sport or martial art, fighting sport is. Um, I think they're pretty, not always generic, but somewhat generic, but they're all functional in their basis. I think you can use them. So anyway, let me just recap what we did in the video. I can't say it enough. Everything is a handle, whether it's on your body or your opponent's body, whether what kind of where he's wearing a jacket, belt, whatever, or no gi situation. Everything is a handle on my body, your body, and I have to keep that in mind. Renee Pomerel taught me that many years ago. I think it's great advice. Another thing, any grip that works for you. By the way, I'm reading in Winning on the Mat, and I'm on page 43 of my book, Winning on the Mat, and I talked about gripping in it quite a bit. And I also, in the previous video, used my book Sambo Encyclopedia to discuss that. So anyway, that's the reference material if you want to use it. But any grip that works for you, page 43, any grip that works for you with a good to high ratio of success is a good grip. In most cases, the throw you choose to use is designed from the grip that you control your opponent with or counter with. Okay, so that's where you have to be skilled in gripping. Okay, know what works for you. That takes a lot of practice and a lot of honest effort on your part in the dojo or gym or on the mat. So think about that. Okay, here's talked about this in the first video. The grip is the first link in the action of attacking and throwing or transitioning to the mat or taking your opponent down. So the grip is the first link in the action of attacking and throwing your opponent. Your grip, or how you grab your opponent, often dictates how well you move your opponent and what throw or takedown or transition you will use. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let's get into the rules of grip fighting. Okay, now over the years, I've coached a lot by the mat side, and I've got a video out on mat side coaching. Okay, so I've spent a lot of time on the mat as well, as an athlete, but also off the side of the mat as a coach. And I've developed some specific guidelines for mat side coaching, which I have in that video. But I also have some things that, as a mat side coach, I've seen some grip rules for grip fighting. Again, I'm going to get my drink of water here. Sorry about the water break. So, rules of grip fighting. Okay, all right. I didn't make all these up. Some I did. Some I observed. Some I learned from and watching very good athletes and learning from great coaches. And so here we go. So here's some practical rules to know and apply every time you engage an opponent. The whole idea is to control your opponent. So it's important to try to achieve the dominant grip as often as possible. It isn't always possible. We'll talk about it here. However, real life tells us that this doesn't always happen. You don't always get the dominant grip. Okay? like this old song, you can't always get what you want. Well, this one, but here we go. All right, it's also vital that you know how to neutralize and counter your opponent's grip, how to nullify his grip, neutralize it, and counter his grip, and then go on to gain the dominant grip. Remember, the end result in getting the grip is to throw your opponent and win the match, or to transition or take him down. Gripping, you don't get style points for gripping. The grip is a means to an end, okay? And I want to get there as quickly as I can, efficiently, with the highest ratio of success, okay? So gripping is essential for a successful throw. Grip fighting is simply a means to an end and is a set of necessary and important tools for you to achieve your ultimate goal in throwing or defeating your opponent. The number one rule in grip fighting: immediately after you start the fight or the match, or even after every break in the action, and you start again, hold your hands up at chest level with your palms facing your opponent so that you pretend you are looking at your opponent through a television screen or a picture frame. This is a good ready posture, and you are prepared to attack and defend. So don't just walk in leading with your face. Keep your hands up. Have your hands up so you can block away, grab. You can get aggressive. When you watch a boxer in a match, he doesn't just walk in leading with his chin, does he? When you watch a football player on the line, a linebacker, he doesn't just drop his hands and run along the side, along the line. He has his hands up, ready to grab. Your hands are a tool. Okay, that's how we reach out and touch someone. We grab someone, have them up and ready. All right. So having them at the ready all the time is essential. And I see this a lot in new judo athletes and also some sambo athletes as well, in that they just kind of don't have their hands up when they engage their opponent. And often, almost always, the opponent gets the dominant grip and controls the fight. So have your hands up. Okay, makes sense. All right, number two, always try to get your hands on your opponent first and get the dominant grip. Get the first grip, okay? Don't fight on his terms, and don't let him have the better grip or tie-up, or if it's no-gi type situation. Be aggressive in getting your grip. How you grip fight or fight for the tie-up not only puts you in a position to attack him. Again, I'm reading from my book. I'm sorry about that, but I think it's well written here. Not that I'm bragging. I can read it better than I can say it, I think, off the cuff. Again, off the cuff. How it puts you in a position to attack him better, but it also lets your opponent know that you mean business. So if you get the dominant grip, the first grip right off, you're setting the tone. You're the boss. You want to be the boss, okay? You're there to fight, not play. Your initial contact with your opponent is that grip. Okay, be the one who takes control and dictates the terms of the fight. That's fighting. Remember, this isn't a game. This is a fight. Okay? All right. Number three, if you can't get the dominant grip, try to break his grip and counter with your own grip or tie up, or grip or tie up. If you can't counter and get the dominant grip, at least get a neutral grip. Nullify his grip. So that's why gripping is important. This is why grip randori in drill training in the dojo, if you do a lot of grip randori and drill training and grip fighting, you will know how to neutralize an opponent's grip. So work on this, okay? Don't just think I had a great sensei teach me how to do this, that's enough. No, get in and train on it, how to not only get the dominant grip, but get a neutral grip, get a nullify his grip, and then counter with your own grip. So sometimes in training, in grip randori, if you're better than your partner or whatever, put yourself in a bad situation. Let him have the dominant grip so you can learn to nullify his grip or learn to regain control of the grip. So just a tip. That was number three. Number four, if you have to initially be in a neutral grip or a tie-up, such as like kumikata, the neutral grip, or tie, work hard to dominate the grip. So so in other words, you've got to work hard to dominate the grip. You want all the odds in your favor and a neutral grip gives your opponent just that. It's a neutral grip. It's 50-50 now. And believe me, I don't want to be in a fight where it's 50-50. I want to be in a fight where the odds are in my favor. So in other words, if the odds start out, we're in a neutral grip, quickly get a dominant grip, okay? Um, do everything you can to get the dominant grip. Okay. Number 5, your grip should lead to something. It should always lead to something. Use your grip or tie-up to set your opponent up for your throw or takedown or transition. Okay. Make sure the grip you use works best for the throw, takedown, or transition you want to use. Number 6, try not to let your opponent get both hands on you. Do not let your opponent get both hands on you. If get one hand is enough. If he only has one hand on me, that means he's either not close enough to attack me, or because he wants to often get both hands on me, not always, but almost 99% of the time, I don't know what the odds are, but he has to have both hands on me to throw me. And likewise, I want both hands on him. But anyway, if he's a one-handed fighter, he can't control you as well as if he has both hands on you. Okay. Number 7, never ever lead with the same hand and your lead leg. So if I'm reaching out with my right hand, I don't step forward with my right foot. Okay. In other words, there we go. If you lead with one hand, don't step out with that same foot. Instead, if your lead hand is your right foot, it's your sugar foot, we call it, the one sweet that's sticking out here. It's kind of sugar, it gives them bait, okay? If it's your right foot, if your right foot is lead, I'm going to lead with my left hand. I'm going to grab initially. My anchor hand will be with my left hand. So if my right foot is dominant, my left hand will be my anchor hand initially grabs. And again, what's the anchor hand? That's usually the first hand I put on my opponent. Watch my video on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. I discuss that in grip fighting specifics, I think we call it. Okay. So if my right foot is leading and I get my left hand grip, this way I'm not off balance and I'm not allowing my opponent to foot sweep me or to attack with another throw or takedown. So if I lead with the same foot, same hand, I often get swept. I've seen this so often. If you've been around, you've seen it happen to yourself. Hopefully it didn't happen to you. And if it did, you learned from it. Okay. Number 8, use your steering hand as radar. Okay. You can also use your anchor hand as radar. Often, in other words, use your hands to feel how your opponent moves. That's that kinesthetic awareness. Okay. That is radar. If you're a right-handed fighter, try to use your right hand to feel your opponent's movements, whether your right hand is on the lapel, in the middle of his chest, the back, or shoulder. By the way, you can also do this with your other hand. So if my left hand reaches out, I anchor with my left hand by grabbing his lapel, I can feel where he moves, okay? Or I may have grabbed his sleeve with my left hand as an anchor hand. Hold on, my right hand latches over, and now I can move him and feel where he moves as well. So my hands are kind of like radar, okay? They get that feel. Learn to feel that in grip randori, in randori, certainly so you can apply that in a real match. So your hands are really radar. I think that's what I'm trying to imply here. I did with that. So use your hands as radar. Number 9, neutralize your opponent's steering hand. So if he's a right, we talked about this on my other video, my previous video a bit, but I want to go into a little more detail here. Neutralize your opponent's steering hand. So if he's a right-handed judo or sambo guy, it's probably his, if he's a right-sided thrower, throws over his right hip or whatever, his steering hand is almost always his right hand. It's one at the lapel, around the back. That's his steering or power hand. Okay, that's his surite. That's his lifting or hanging hand in Japanese. So I want to neutralize that. All right. If he's a right-handed fighter and wants to get his right hand on you, grip it first and keep it pushed down and away from you so that he can't get his hand on you. This ties in with making him a one-handed fighter. So don't let him get both hands on you. Kill that shoulder. Okay, we talked about that in the other video. Kill his shoulder. Okay, so if I'm a righty and my opponent neutralizes my shoulder by getting a grip and breaking it down or stopping it, putting his hand in there to block it, getting the inside grip. Okay, you've often heard your coach say, or if a coach, you've told your athletes, get the inside grip. That's often really good advice because it neutralizes and controls his shoulders. You are literally steering his shoulders with your hands. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about by neutralizing his steering hand. You'll also neutralize his shoulders, which control his hips and his movement, okay, his feet as well. So we're all connected, and it leads from the controlling with the hands, the grip. Emphasize your steering hand. If you're a right-handed fighter, this is your right hand. Okay, use it to control your opponent. Your left hand would then assist in getting the grip. That's the anchor hand. I set him up with my left hand, the anchor hand, whether it be at the lapel, his epaulet and sambo, or on a sleeve, the elbow, low sleeve at the wrist, whatever it may be. Your left hand would then assist in getting the grip, pulling him, fending off his hand, or in any variety of uses. Some coaches, the right hand, again, going back to Jeff Gleason, he named this the power hand. Again, I picked up the phrase steering hand from Neil Adams, which I like both the power hand, that's a good phrase, but the steering hand, I think really sets it, gives it a good direction in what you're talking about here. It's a good name. It's an appropriate name, steering, because you're steering him with that right hand. Okay, if you're a right-handed fighter. All right. But I prefer to call it steering hand because you literally steer your opponent with your hand. Okay, you can do that. All right, number 11. I'm not getting fond of getting the thumb. Okay, can you see this here? The thumb, there you go. The thumb caught in my, if I'm a right-handed fighter, caught in my opponent's collar, high up in the collar and the lapel. I don't like my thumb in his collar. I want, if you can see here, okay, if I can't, there, see the grip there, okay? I like my thumb out. Okay, a lot of people do too. I don't like my thumb in and catch and lock it in because what happens when I try to throw him, it locks in place. If my thumb's in there, if my thumb gets locked in his lapel or collar, and that causes what I've often called a floating elbow. Your elbow floats up in the air. So instead of reaching around and using it to dominate and steer, your elbow then pops up. Okay, and so I'm not fond of getting the thumb caught in the opponent's lapel when grabbing it. Okay, this often leads to a floating elbow. The malady, I like the word the malady, I'm sorry if I'm too harsh on some people. The malady that happens when a fighter attacks with a right-handed throw and his right elbow goes up in the air. Okay, by getting your thumb stuck in your opponent's collar at his neck, you are limiting yourself in how you attack and defend. That's true. Okay, so keep that in mind. I've seen many good fighters, again, use their hand, and they see I'm using the heel to push and control, not getting it locked in there, and I let my elbow float up. Don't want to do that. Your posture is important. Rule number 12, shoulders over hips, and shoulders, in other words, straight line with your hips. Lower your levels with your legs. This means that your shoulders should be directly over your hips and straight, and have a straight back and good posture. Do not bend over, leaning forward at the waist. Okay, your shoulders are way ahead of your waist, and your feet, you're off balance. Okay, you put too much weight in your head and your shoulders, or if you're moving back, you're too much weight in your butt end. So do not be bent over. Okay, you see that a lot in wrestling. It's a different grappling sport, but they're all bent over. And to me, in my opinion, for what we do with the throwing and transitions and takedowns we use, they're not in position there to attack or defend very well. So keep your back straight, have good posture. Okay, don't bend forward with your butt sticking out or your shoulders leaning forward. This puts your body off balance forward or backward. If you have to get lower than your opponent or like to fight from a lower position, crouching position, lower your level with your legs. In other words, bend your legs, use them like springs, okay, and bend forward at the waist, okay, lean forward. Do not bend over and crouch, okay, straight back. Your weight distribution should be 50-50 most or all of the time, even if I'm leading with one leg or the other, okay. I want to make sure my posture, my weight distribution is balanced and solid. So that's really important to practice on every time I'm practicing in the dojo. Okay, so 50-50. Do not be heavy-footed or try to stay on the balls of your feet. Be graceful. You're not being a sissy if you're being graceful. Slide, shuffle. Don't lumber. Don't stomp around. What I call a dead foot or a dead hand. If you put too much weight on it and you can't move it well, it's dead to you. It's of no use to you. Okay, so you don't want to be heavy-footed or have a dead foot. You want to be able to move. Okay, so 50-50 weight distribution, very important. Here's an old rule, but the one that still works. Don't cross your feet. Some people say, well, it doesn't matter anymore. Modern judo, modern sambo, you cross your feet. Okay, fine, then cross your feet. But I've seen a lot of guys get drilled when they cross their feet because their legs get tangled up underneath them. I know I used to be an amateur boxer, not a very good one, don't get that wrong. I wasn't a good one, but I did have good coaching. And I always heard from my coaches in that sport as well, don't cross your feet. And I think when you see any sport, when you have movement, either laterally, forward, back, or angles, if you cross your feet, you get them messed up with each other, and it just doesn't work. You can't attack or defend well, so do not cross your feet. Old stuff, believe me, the old stuff still works, doesn't it? Okay, number 15. Once you attach onto your opponent with a grip, stay attached to him. Now remember, my hands and arms control him. We're holding on to each other now. He's holding on to me. So we're attached to each other. We're like one big hunk of people out there. Okay, so we're connected. All right. If you need to change your grip, don't let go unless he's beaten you to the grip and is controlling you, and you have to break free and re-grip or re-engage, reset. Okay. So if you have to break the grip, do so for a reason. Get your grip, hold on for dear life, and beat the snot out of them with it. Okay, use it. Okay, so change only when you need to. Number 16, always use two hands to control or attack your opponent's one hand. If I 2-on-1 his hand, I think the new rules of IJF judo may not allow this. I don't know. I don't keep up with the IJF rules, but I know in AAU judo and in freestyle judo, AAU freestyle judo, and in sambo, you can do this. It's good gripping. In other words, your opponent comes in to grip with you and leads with his one hand, his right hand, okay, or whatever. It's easier to deflect his one hand with your two. Block them both. Use both hands to pop them away. Or if he's gripped you, pull both 2-on-1. You got more strength. Your two arms are stronger than his one, unless he's a real stud. Then get back in the weight room. You need to. All right. So in other words, you can counter grip more effectively using both hands when possible. A good example for you is to kill or neutralize your opponent's right hand lead. He's led with his right hand. He's gripped me. Okay. Both hands on your lapel. We all know this one. Pop it down, right? Spook 2-on-1 or on your sleeve. Try to pop it down. Okay. So 2-on-1 whenever possible. Right. You have the edge. You always want to have the edge. Number 17, avoid moving directly backward or running forward directly at your opponent. How many new kids in judo we saw, they couldn't wait to get at their opponent. They ran right at him, and the guy turned and drilled them with some kind of a really cool throw for ippon. Again, sorry for the water break. So moving directly back or forward is too easy for your opponent to throw you. Common sense. But we have to learn common sense. It's not always common. All right. By moving back in a straight line or backing away from your opponent, you appear to be passive. I know I refereed a lot of sambo matches, been in a lot of sambo matches, and I can tell you, when I see an opponent, when I see a sambo wrestler backing away, he doesn't want to engage. Okay, so go laterally, move around and sideways, one way or the other. Angles, maybe forward angle. You can even move backward, but don't go straight back. Move back at an angle. And it's also a way, if you want to lead him in a direction, in a place on the mat, if you want to get him to the edge of the mat for some reason or whatever, by your movement, generally laterally, either right, totally sideways each way, or back corner or forward corner one way, not straight forward and back, okay? You're too easy to get drilled, all right? So work laterally a lot, all right? By moving back or straight, you're too easy to, don't back up. Instead, try to move at angles. If you have to move or avoid him, try to move laterally. And often, a good way is after, the referee, like in sambo blows his whistle, you re-engage or you start, or the referee says hajime again in judo. Rather than just run at him, okay, try to engage, hands up, and move laterally one side or the other to see how he steps. He may step, you may step to your right and get him to elicit a movement, to a response, and he will. Then you can quickly latch on to him quickly and have the edge. So once you engage, don't just run right at him. If you're winning, make him come to you. That's tactically, but because that'll kill a few seconds. Don't bat him away or run away, but go laterally and work at angles. Okay, don't go forward or back ever. Okay, all right. Number 18. Number 19. Okay, use your head as a wedge to break the grip. If if necessary. Sometimes you may have to bury your head on your opponent's chest, shoulder, or even his arm and use it as a wedge to open up the distance between your bodies. So if he's beat me on the grip, if he's got a good, short, compact, strong grip, and boom, I'm stuck in there, I may have to wedge my head in there to push on his shoulder, or even up the side of his neck, okay? Or maybe even his head, little abuse there. Sorry, it works. Oh, that's dirty judo. No, it's not. We all do it, okay? Like one of my old coaches, Rene Pomerel, said, that's your third arm, okay? He couldn't say TH, third arm, very well because he was from Luxembourg and had a kind of a slightly, very heavy French-German accent. And he would call it your third arm. Your head is your third arm, and use it to use as a third arm. And that's what he meant in that case. So that's where you wedge there. You may have to push that to open him up, okay, to create some distance, to get some working room. So sometimes your head is your third arm or your third arm, all right? Number 20, don't be saddled thinking that you can only use a neutral grip, the lapel and sleeve grip, or collar tie-up, okay? Well, this is a basic grip used to learn new throwing skills and put each other on a neutral basis. Again, it is a neutral grip, kumikata, the standard natural grip, okay? All right. Don't fall in love with a grip for any reason other than it works and is the best to use to throw, take down, or transition an opponent. So don't say, I only use one grip. That's all the judo I'm going to do. I can use all the throws with one grip. I've heard people say this. Well, they don't really do that, number one. And number two, they generally don't throw a lot of people either. Okay, so if you're only locked into one grip, you better train harder. You better get your head right and start using grips to dominate your opponent. Okay, so that's just the way it is. If you don't like that rule, I'm sorry. That's what I believe, and I've seen it work a lot. Okay, all right. Be willing and prepared to change grips to suit the situation, and guess what? To dominate your opponent. Okay, you should use the grip to dominate your opponent. If you can't dominate, nullify or neutralize the situation, and then counter grip so you again dominate the grip. Okay, it's all a matter of controlling him, and gripping is how we do it. Number 21, control his shoulders. Again, this is what I like, the short grips using my anchor hand. You can steer your opponent by controlling his shoulders and manipulate his body better. Okay, so be very aware. If I grab on a low sleeve grip, again, why am I grabbing there? There must be a reason for it. I want distance between me and him, okay? But if I just don't think about how I grab him, if I just grab really low too much, I'm not controlling his shoulders. Again, if I control his shoulders control where the hips move often. So by controlling his shoulders, I control his movement because, again, we lead with our hips. My old friend Harry Parker said, always lead with your hips. Again, if you can control his shoulders, you will control his hips almost all the time. So understand that. And also, we talked about this before and also in my other video, kill his shoulder, break his shoulder down, dominate him. If he's a righty, break his shoulder down where he can't use it to get square back his shoulder and get a grip. You do not want to give him a strong shoulder. So kill his grip, make him have a weak shoulder, I call it, but don't let him have a strong shoulder. For a righty, if I have a right hand lapel grip, I want that hand up there to my power hand, my steering hand to steer. But if my opponent either gets the inside grip or comes over the top and breaks my shoulder down, he has killed my shoulder and in essence shut me down from attacking him. Okay, so he's neutralized my grip. He's nullified my movement. Now, that means I have to reset. That means he's winning at this point, and he may attack me, so I better be wary. Okay, so there you go. Anyway, number 22. I guess I had 23 rules. I'm sorry, I thought I had 22. 22, don't use only your hands to control your opponent. I know wrestlers love to call it hand fighting or hand wrestling. Okay, it's a great phrase. Your hands grab him, but your elbows, arms, shoulders, and head all help in steering your opponent and controlling his movement. So I grab with my hands, yes, but I'm also using my elbows, my shoulder, my body, my head, even if I have to wedge like we talked about earlier, to control his movement. Okay, so don't just grab with the hands and think you're going to lead him around with your hands. Use his elbow. Boy, you should be able to see my hands are really working here. But use your elbows to steer him with the elbows too. Don't just use your hands to control. Use your elbows, arms, shoulders, everything. Movement. Use your hips. Lean in. Move him around. Don't lean in too much where you're off balance, but control. Okay. Number 23. And this is the most important rule of grip fighting. Any grip that works and is allowed in the rules of your fighting sport and works with a good ratio of success and works for you when you need it to work for you is a good grip. Okay, so as again, I like to quote people, as Sean Watson said, it's only pretty if it works. Okay, you can have the coolest looking grip. You saw this great judo champion do, but if it doesn't lead to anything, it's useless. Okay, so gripping is a tool. It's very pragmatic. It's very functional. It's how we reach out and touch someone. And again, I don't want him touching me first. I want to be able to control him. So if the grip works for you and works with you with a good ratio of success and works when you need it, it's a good grip. Okay, so there we have it. This is part 2 on grip fighting. Grip fighting is that important. So it devoted 2 of these little lecture type videos of mine. Again, go to my YouTube channel. Look at the videos there. I've cut one on grip fighting. It's kind of short, but there's a lot to it. And again, like I said in the first video, part 1 of this series, I guess, grip randori is the best way to develop grip fighting skills. Real functional, pragmatic, real world grip fighting skills. Don't just say, I do this grip only for this throw. You will find by doing a lot of grip fighting drills, a lot of grip randori, that you will be fluid in your movement and you will find how you can work your grips effectively, functionally into your throws, transitions, or takedowns. So don't just, have some academic approach to gripping. This sets up, that sets up, and take 18 different steps to do something that you could be doing in 1 or 2 steps. If you do a lot of grip randori, you will discover that. Of course, you need good coaching and drilling as well in specific drilling. But we'll be having a video on drill training as well, and out there. So we'll be talking about that. But grip randori is the best way to develop gripping, in my opinion, and grip fighting drills. And I've used them for many years of my athletes, and they've done quite well with it. Some better than not, but it works. So anyway, there we have it on grip fighting part 2. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I will see you next time.